You are Comrade Ivan Ivanovich Privalov. In 1961, you were selected for the Shukovgrad Interonaut Exploration Program SSSR. Despite failing your basic physical and being caught cheating on your entrance exams, on the morning of the 12th of April 1962, you boarded a rocket drill containing the experimental device Little Orpheus, with the purpose of descending through the Earth's crust to discover the relative hollowness of the interior and its suitability for colonization.
No, you've lost me, General. Did I do what?
You and Little Orpheus were dropped into an extinct volcano to drill to the center of the Earth and find out if we could establish a city there. Note, if you will, that this date is over 3 years ago. Ivan Ivanovich, can you describe Little Orpheus to me?
Of course. It was large and round and had something of a disagreeable smell.
I was referring to its technical specification.
Well, General, I am no man of science, but it had this radio thing that I was supposed to use to let the surface know I had arrived, and some sort of battery wrapped in this lead box. But I was told to not touch anything under any circumstances, and I did notice the engineers who worked on it were quite a shifty bunch.
The Little Orpheus device contained a radio transmitter capable of sending a signal through miles of solid rock. In order to boost this, a powerful energy source was required. An atomic bomb, Comrade Privalov. An atomic bomb that you have lost somewhere below the Earth's crust.
Yes, that bomb. Of course, General. I can explain everything. But it is a long and somewhat complicated story. And let me assure you, this is not a case of milking chickens. But you won't understand where your bomb and Little Orpheus has ended up unless I start at the very beginning and you let me tell you where I've been for the last 3 years.
From the beginning, then. But this had better be good.
Good, General. It's more than good. It's extraordinary. And it began like this. An extraordinary sight. I realized this must be the fabled land of Plutonia, as documented by the brilliant scholar Obruchev. A trail of destruction carved by the rocket drill led down into the wild and mysterious jungle. The rocket drill itself must have snapped in half somewhere below Kamchatka, and Little Orpheus bounced out and became lost in that prehistoric forest. If I was ever to get home, my mission was clear: to find Little Orpheus. I steeled myself and plunged deeper into that prehistoric jungle where insects the size of dogs buzzed around.
Dogs. What sort of dogs?
I beg your pardon, General?
Large dogs or small dogs? Big like an ovcharka or small like a barlonka?
Does it really matter?
Of course. Detail is all important.
Ovcharka then, General. The size of an ovcharka.
I find it very hard to believe.
Would you find it easier if they were the size of a balanka?
No. But I am enjoying your attempts to persuade me.
Another part of the rocket drill. But still no sign of Little Orpheus. Between the trees, I could see huge beasts, larger and more ancient than any known to our modern times. Could it be that Obrachev was right? And deep below the Earth's surface, prehistoric monsters still roam freely?
Yes, but Little Orpheus.
Terrible lizard intent on making a snack of me was none other than the most awful of the monsters, the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh, now you are an expert on dinosaurs.
Oh, hardly an expert, General. Just educated by the best schools in the world, like all good socialists. And I remembered one crucial thing.
I'm listening.
Well, its greed is without bottom, its hunger is ferocious, but its brain is absolutely tiny. So it can roar and roar as much as it likes, but it will never be a match for the sharpened mind of the good Soviet worker. All I needed was a plan to outwit the monster. Imagine my shock and surprise to find in that clearing the last part of the rocket drill. More shocking was the fact it had been ransacked. Someone had made off with the tools, the weapons, the rations, and the spare parts for the Pragviev. I began to suspect foul play. Perhaps Little Orpheus was not lost at all, but stolen. All I could do was follow the trail further into Plutonia.
So we all agree this was the fabled land of Plutonia, do we? I don't remember accepting that.
I will admit it might not have been Plutonia if you are prepared to accept the dinosaur.
This isn't a negotiation, Ivan Ivanovich.
General, you can disagree all you like, but there's very little you can do to persuade me it wasn't a dinosaur.
I might not be able to persuade you, but I can always have you shot.
You hid in an egg.
Yes, General. I hid in an egg.
I am glad to hear your military training was not wasted. If only I had a single legion of men as brave and ingenious as you, with only 100 men equipped with eggs to hide in, we could roll across Europe in a day.
General, are you mocking me?
You are as sharp as you are brave, Tavarish.
I couldn't believe it. I still struggle to believe it. A whole lost city, buried in that jungle deep below the crust of the earth. Who would have thought it was possible?
Who indeed? It is, of course, a shame you didn't think to record the moment for posterity and help us all to get over our disbelief.
But I did, General, I did. My training was excellent, and I immediately took out my komsomolets and began to document all I could.
So, where is this camera now, then?
Ah, General, yes. What, of course, I meant to say was my training was excellent, and I immediately reached for my camera, only to realize it must have been torn from my utility belt in the crash and lost forever in that forgotten jungle. The horrendous beast had returned and was hungrier than ever.
Perhaps it was angry it had been fooled by an egg-wearing idiot.
That is unkind, General. It may have been small of brain, but it was grand of stature.
Whereas you, Ivan Ivanovich, are lacking in both departments. Presuming there were no more eggs to hide in, did you have a new plan?
I did, General.
Please, do tell me, what was this brilliant plan?
I ran like hell, General.
Will our intrepid yet doomed hero survive the jaws of the ferocious dinosaur? Will he meet his end miles underground as an aperitif for a ravenous raptor?
What luck! What a miracle! One moment I was rushing into the fetid tonsils of that horrible monster. The next, I was plummeting downwards to the jungle floor beyond its reach. I prayed I would land on something soft.
Perhaps your head.
But nothing could have prepared me for what was about to unfold. An epic saga of pride, power, and revolution. A struggle for freedom the likes of which our world has never seen. And it happened like this. Who were those strange, gentle monsters who towered above me? I could only guess they were the lost tribe of the Menth, an earlier race of people. But why were they so fearful of those ancient gates that lay just beyond their village? And why did they seem to recognize me? Why?
Yes, I'm also wondering why.
No, a как же, General? Who was I to question such things? Trapped as I was deep underground. I was more curious, I must admit, about the location of Little Orpheus.
Talk of a great city, a mighty power. Yet your nymph squatted like savages in huts at its boundary.
They did. And the answer to that mystery lay beyond my grasp at that point. Because it was a wonder, it truly was.
The lost city of Agartha. I hope I may one day see it myself.
Oh, General, if only you could. Unfortunately, as I shall explain, should you seek Agartha now, you wouldn't find it. It has been utterly destroyed.
Utterly destroyed?
Utterly, General, a tragic loss.
A convenient loss.
I imagine archaeologists weeping as I tell you. But most importantly, before we continue, you must understand one crucial fact about its destruction.
Which is?
It wasn't my fault. Those poor, unfortunate Minkf, trapped and kidnapped and dragged away, only to return as vicious foot soldiers to some unknown tyrant. And yet, there was something familiar about the shtukova they were forced to wear on their heads, which I was sure were being used to control and enslave them.
And what was that?
General, it curiously resembled the radio sets I used to tinker with as a child.
Radio sets.
It was very curious.
It was very curious.
It was extremely curious.
An ancient technological metropolis, powered by a glowing resin, carved from the very earth?
A glowing resin carved from the very earth. Do you see, General?
I fear you are about to enlighten me.
Little Orpheus must have been drained by the impact, but whoever had stolen it and brought it here was no doubt planning to use the Agarthan resin to charge up the atomic bomb, restoring the device to its full potential. What sort of man would come up with such a monstrously reckless scheme?
Perhaps the type of man who has such limited understanding of atomic energy that he thinks an ancient metropolis can be powered by shiny marbles. I am curious, Ivan Ivanovich. You talk and talk about this great subterranean city. Yet what you describe sounds strangely familiar. It does in some way bear an uncanny resemblance to the glorious architecture of Comrade Alexei Dushkin. Wouldn't you agree?
Donyet, General. I have never heard of this great Tavarish Dushkin or his works.
Interesting. Because you were photographed on the steps of his marvelous Vysotka na Krasnich Varotach, shaking hands with the Glavny Constructor.
That was the chief designer? The sweaty little fat man with the bad hearing?
Mind your mouth, Ivan Ivanovich. And don't think you can distract me by slandering one of the great visionaries of our time. Without him, neither of us would be sitting here now.
Must remember to thank him for that, General. Those enslaved Mink were trying to stop me. I was sure of that now.
I find myself sympathizing with them, I must admit.
No, General, then I have failed to win you over.
Uh-huh. A point of agreement at last.
Ask again, General. Are you mocking me?
That would be unprofessional, comrade.
I will try harder to convince you then. It is, after all, a cautionary tale of unleashed tyranny.
It is a cautionary tale of unleashed idiocy. But please, do continue.
I stepped from the cable car onto a plateau at the center of the city, where a palace, a vast acropolis, stood. I was reminded of Chelyabinsk Sorok.
May I ask how you know of Chelyabinsk Sorok?
My Aunt Masha was a traveling tinker who married a beef investigator from Zlatoust. She told me of a secret but wonderful city in the west. An edifice of sheer power, humbly serving the will and needs of the people.
Yes, unfortunately, that story didn't end so well.
No. That's what Auntie Marcia told me. And perhaps that is why I was also reminded of it. Because the moment I touched the floor in that place, I could tell something was very, very wrong. Began to shake alarmingly, and the whole city felt as if it was shuddering. I could only imagine what I would find at the heart of the vast temple.
If it isn't a giant glowing marble, I'm going to be very disappointed.
A huge resin sphere that overshadowed all of the others. I caught glimpses through the twisted architecture. And it was then I saw him.
Him?
The thief, the enslaver, the tyrant, sucking the power from this wondrous city as he drained the very lifeblood of the ancient civilization and drew it into the atomic embrace of Little Orpheus. With a song in my heart, I raced onwards to stop him. drained of its power, the magical heart of the city cracked, and it sent shockwaves through the world around me. A true monster, General, willing to bring down the mountain itself upon Agartha and bury it forever in his ruthless scheme. I could not save that wondrous place, General, to my shame and regret. But I resolved myself to avenge the Mir, to recapture Little Orpheus, and to bring that tyrant to justice.
Will our plucky yet careless hero fall forever through those unknown skies? Will he discover the identity of the brutal thief commanding the army of the Menkth? What chance does he have of ever returning to his beloved homeland? How long can the General's patience last? All of these questions and more will definitely be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
I plummeted down through that weird sky towards a great turbulent ocean that roared and swelled. A ferocious sea that offered no hope of survival. I thought of home and wept, unaware that in an instant my fortunes would be changed by an event so bizarre I almost hesitate to tell you. And it happened like this.
A giant whale?
It was huge, General.
You were swallowed by a giant whale.
Yes, General.
You look remarkably well for a man who was swallowed by a whale.
I am blessed with a strong constitution, General.
And I assume you are now going to tell me how you managed to escape from the belly of this giant whale.
Naturally, General. And I must say, it really was a fascinating glimpse into the interior life of one of our world's most magnificent beasts. I consider myself a wiser man after this experience. It was an extraordinary place, General. I could perhaps deliver a lecture on the subject to Moscow University's Zoological Society, if you like. I only want to help.
The Moscow University Zoological Society has, I suspect, better things to do than listen to the ramblings of a man who claims he was swallowed by a whale.
That is a shame, General. People can be so closed-minded.
I, on the other hand, had little choice but to hear you out. For your own sake, Ivan Ivanovich, I must urge you to be brief.
Absolutely, General. I will tell you directly of my miraculous escape from the belly of the whale. You simply won't believe. so I found myself deep within the whale's organs. A strangely beautiful place. A sort of fleshy wonderland. A glade of polyps and globules. A landscape as awe-inspiring in its way as the forests and mountains of Altai. Oh, my home, General, that I yearned and longed for, and only hoped, as I hope now, that I might one day see again.
I think we're all longing for home at this point.
Oh, with warm slippers, a mug of steaming Spitzin, and a roaring fire. Not far from home, trapped inside a monstrous fish with only the strange and evil-looking worms that infested its gut for company. With only one's dedication to one's country and mission to keep one from falling into despair. But no, General, I could not. I had to escape, to find Little Orpheus and my way back to the surface and home.
Worms, you say, living inside the whale.
Oh, they were horrid things, those worms, General. And most unwelcome, I would say. Parasites. Just how rampant their infestation was, more of the tremendous sizes they could grow to. At that point, my thoughts were only of escape. And I had a plan.
Yes, I'm sure you did. These worms, they made your Nivirayatni whale sick.
Whenever they attached themselves, the flesh began to turn gray and die. It was a truly distressing sight. And I resolved myself to assist the whale by removing the leeches wherever I could find them during my escape. my mind, it was a simple plan, General. I would climb up through the whale's throat, into its mouth, then wait until it opened it to feed, and swim out.
Ah, yes. Brilliant, Ivan Ivanovich. Only one or two minor flaws with it. For example, did it not occur to you that the whale would likely be deep underwater when it ate?
Bravo, General, but I am a strong swimmer. As a child, my parents would take us to holiday near Irkutsk, where we took constitutionals in the waters of Lake Baikal. In fact, my mother often called me her маленький морской котик.
A giant worm for a giant whale, huh?
At the risk of repeating myself, it was huge, General.
The Moscow University Zoological Society may be interested after all. Let us take a moment, Ivan Ivanovich. Your ridiculous plan to escape through the mouth of the whale failing, you would now have me believe you had embarked on some misguided crusade to free it of the worm infestation. To what end, exactly?
When one suffers, we all suffer, General.
Your ideological commitment is admirable, comrade, but...
I concluded that if I could find the root of the infestation and neutralize it, the whale could mount a spirited counterattack against the worms. And then, victorious, the whale would surface to expel the remaining poisonous muck and slime from its body. And at that point, I could escape through the nearest convenient orifice. In this case, most likely the blowhole.
That is the most revolting thing I've ever heard.
General, we are Russians. We have withstood the sheer force of nature and history and emerged triumphant. Expedition through the nasal sphincter of a gargantuan whale is nothing to us.
I suppose you would have me believe that the whale was grateful to you.
Well, General, that would be presumptuous. I doubt it was even aware of my presence. But I had more immediate problems. For if the whale might have been relieved by my actions, the worms were enraged.
Worms
Furious.
Worms
Incandescent.
do not feel
Violently indignant.
emotions.
Demented, General. Deranged.
Enough! Where is Little Orpheus? Where is my bomb? Unless you are trying to tell me the whale smoked that as well.
No, it did not, General. That would be absurd.
No, Ivan Ivanovich, you are absurd. Your story is absurd. This whole ridiculous fairy tale is absurd.
Will our brave yet foolhardy hero escape the furious worm? Will he be doomed to spend his days trapped in the innards of a bad-tempered cetacean? Where is the whale swimming to in such a rush? And what will it do when it gets there? Is the general about to lose his temper and order the cosmonaut shot? All of these questions and more must surely be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
Flew from the whale's blowhole like a supersonic jet. And below me, the ocean became a sheltered bay studded with white shapes. You will be amazed as my epic journey unfolds. For here, it was about to take a most unexpected turn. And it happened like this. It was a beautiful but deadly wasteland. Freezing cold, brutally chilling, enough to kill a man in hours.
Yet here you are.
Indeed, General. An impoverished childhood playing in the streets of Omsk during those bitter winters had made me hardy.
I thought you said you grew up in Altai.
Ah, General, the life of a poor toy maker's family. We had to move from place to place just to find work.
Sinbad of The Land, eh? Of course, Sinbad himself reported nothing more than a bluish fog on the horizon. Your island may be nothing more than the product of overactive imaginations.
General, consider this. Imagine taking a simple peasant, a pig shepherd, for example, and telling him one day humans would fly around the earth beyond the sky. He would say you were stark raving mad, Saldafon, a ridiculous Kaziol Baradati, a buffoon stuffed into a military uniform, a pridurak, a chuchela tuparile.
This peasant of yours had better watch his mouth if he doesn't want to spend his holidays in Solovyetsky. Perhaps you should return to your story.
There in the cliff, I could not believe it. A hairy elephant, trapped and frozen in the ice.
A mammoth?
No, General, a hairy elephant. Who would think such a thing could be? Trudged onwards through the blizzard, one foot grimly in front of the other, blinded by the snow, my nose becoming quite blue, my thoughts of home crushed under the weight of the plummeting temperature.
I am bored, Ivan Ivanovich, and sick to my teeth of listening to this rubbish. Let us speak plainly now. You will tell me where my bomb is, or I will have you shot.
I am just getting to that, General.
Shot! Comrade Primal! Shot with real bullets, fired from a real gun, not some ludicrous Bultavia about lost cities and dinosaurs and mink and mammoth.
It was a hairy elephant.
No! I will not tolerate any more! Where is the bomb, Ivan Ivanovich? Where is Little Orpheus?
It was right there.
What?
It was there. At least I realized it must be.
Where?
There?
On Sinbad Land?
Yes, General. Because as the storm began to clear, I realized with a strange excitement and trepidation that I was not alone on Sonic Land.
Wait. Go back. You say these lifeboats came from Zarya, a Russian ship?
Zarya returned home, but not with all of her crew. And here were the missing lifeboats, trapped in the ice for all of these years. And it could only mean one thing.
But you are continuing to hang lapsha on my ears.
Baron Edward von Toll. Of course, I remember reading about his tragic expedition at school. We were taught he had died a hero's death out on the icy wastes, searching for Sonic Land. Yet what if, in doing so, he had sailed accidentally into the interior, deep below the crust of the world? A fellow citizen of the surface. I had to try and find him.
A dead explorer stole my bomb.
Not dead, General, but quite insane. Perhaps it was the loss of the arm or the leg, or the long years in isolation. But Toll was clearly mad.
You should have got along perfectly then.
Oh, how I wish we had. But no, General. Whatever Toll's intention with Little Orpheus was, I had no time to consider it. I was in mortal peril once more.
So, you believe that Toll had somehow enslaved the Menkiv and bent them to his will?
I do, General. It was obvious. Why else would they serve him? And how else could they be so different from their free comrades? These odd helmets they wore, it was the science of our times. No doubt about it. Although fused with some strange crystal technology I could not recognize. To be honest with you, it didn't seem appropriate to stop and ask them.
This Thou. You say he was an explorer.
Yes, General, he was. He vanished some 60 years ago. I remember the story well.
And you say he stole Little Orpheus.
To get home, General. To get home. I think he must have thought he could use the atomic bomb to blast his way back to the surface.
Brilliant, Ivan Ivanovich! And you expect me to believe that a 100-year-old madman not only survived below the Earth's crust, but enslaved his Mienkiv, explored the lost worlds, and discovered the secrets of atomic power, all by himself?
A Tsarist general! An imperialist! No doubt harking back to the terrible days before the Great Revolution. And Estonian!
Estonia.
Estonian general!
They are wily people.
Slave mines stretched away into the distance, and I sometimes wondered if I would ever find my way out. But I never gave up, General.
Of course you didn't. You are a hero, Ivan Ivanovich.
No, General, no, I am no hero. I am a simple toymaker's son from Tomsk.
Omsk.
General?
Omsk. You said Tomsk.
I said Omsk.
You said Tomsk.
General, I think I am well aware of the city of my birth.
Perhaps all the moving around as a child confused you.
On we flew across the deserted, frozen plateau. I was single-minded in my pursuit, dogged in my determination. I would take back Little Orpheus and prevent Toll from detonating the bomb.
Ah, you are as humble as ever, Tavares.
Well, General, you are a great military leader, a great strategist, whereas I am simply the humble son of a watchdog. toy maker and driven by patriotic fever with no regard for my own safety, I rushed blindly on.
Will our courageous yet unfortunate hero drown in the depths of an inhospitable frozen sea? Will he thaw out in time to prevent Tull from detonating the bomb? Will the general holiday in Omsk next year? Or Tomsk? Or perhaps both? What exactly is the difference between a mammoth and a hairy elephant? All of these questions and more should almost certainly be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!